We're not here to talk my opening video. We're here to talk about the ACA-920, and I finally got the number right, and I will probably mess it up again. If I start talking about something called the ACP-420, that is a different thing entirely and not related in any way. All right, so we're here to talk about some more topics about working with pages. So different ways we can use pages in Confluence, or different features or different things about them that can help us utilize them, manage them, take care of things. Morning, Scott. Good to see you again. And Chad, of course. As you all trickle in, and I'll talk about this in a moment as well, please use the chat. That is the best way to connect, the best way to communicate. But also, there's a lot of great people in here who can help you out beyond just me. I'll have some ideas, but there's a lot of other folks like my friend Sandy or Scott or Chad. But if you don't want to use the chat, that is totally fine too. It's just another way to help get a little bit more out of these sessions. So we're going to talk about the ACA-920. Got it again. That's 2 in a row. But this is not just for taking that exam. If you want to take that exam, I'll encourage you to explore it. It's a great validation of skills. Hronar, I hope I got that right. If not, I will go back to studying. But if you want to take the exam, I'll encourage you to. It's a great thing to have and just point to and say, hey, look, I'm certified. It can also be very helpful in job hunting, things like that. Matt, good morning, or good afternoon, I'm sorry. And before we get started, always curious where folks are in the world. I'm in the Bay Area, California, and we've had terrible weather. It was horrible. We had mildly overcast skies and a slight bit of rain last night. It's just been awful. Kemi, hope I'm saying that right. Welcome. So as usual, we're going to kick off with some slides just to orient us on the topics. They're also important so you understand the terms and the things we'll be talking about. My intent is after this course, you have the tools and skills to go look up everything you need. You don't have to rely on just this, but also that you won't be frustrated trying to find help. Matt, I have no idea where Swindon is, but I have some homework. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Rob. I've had a career in different parts of information technology. I started off as the help desk IT guy. I don't have a better name, help desk support agent, answering your tickets, delivering your hardware, and quickly got pulled into project work. And throughout my entire career, I've noticed the big need for knowledge and documentation. We need to have somewhere to store what we learn and what we've done. So later we can look back and improve on it, or new people to the team can learn. We got folks from Albany, Brussels, Pennsylvania, Cambridge, England, and spring have arrived. Peter, I'm glad you get at least a few hours of sun. Hronar, I didn't realize that Iceland was active today. I've heard that there was a 7.7 out in Myanmar, which is the other side of the planet from you. But hope everyone's okay. So throughout my entire career, there's been this need for documentation and gathering and sharing knowledge. And I started using Confluence to do that about 10 years ago. It was just the tool that we had. And so I learned how to use it. I also don't have a lot of spare time, and this made it hard to learn some systems. Thomas, welcome. I've got a good friend who moved her family from Oregon, so south of Seattle, north of San Francisco, to Denmark. And they've been there for 5 years now. It's been great. I don't have a lot of spare time to learn systems. I will make time to figure them out if I have to for my job. But I realize many people can't do that, don't want to do that, don't care to do that. And that's why I do these training sessions. So be on the lookout for more sessions. I'll have some for the professional level certifications, more the admin level, and more for the associate level, the average user. Next up is the ACA-900, which is Jira's software basics. So if you use Jira software for project planning or software work, that's the one to come check out. Rebecca, good morning. It's still morning in Virginia. Please use the chat. It's that bar to my right on your screen or over my left shoulder. All right, good to know, Hronar. I've got family in Hawaii, fortunately not on the volcano side. But recently they've had, in the past few years, they've had some very large flows that have forced people to relocate and destroyed lots of stuff. So glad everyone's okay. Please use the chat. You'll see folks already chatting in there. I will drop questions into the chat just to help get discussion going or to just see what you know. But it's also great that folks in the chat work with each other. It's not just about Rob talking to all of you. That's part of it. It's really about the other folks who can help us out. And I learn a lot from the chat. So if you have an answer or an idea and are comfortable sharing, please put it down in there. Let everyone know. More than Emily. Also, you'll notice that there might be some regulars that pop in that I've seen quite a bit. Please like the stream. That really helps me out. And also subscribe if you haven't. This lets me know what topics are interesting. And if you have ideas for other streams, please drop it in the chat as well. I might do just short video on it, or I might do a whole live learning. That's how I ended up doing the Jira service agents a few weeks ago. One on Loom, because folks at my work didn't know how to use it. So if there's other topics you want to hear about, let me know. Quick overview of what we'll talk about. We've got the ability to preview pages, things like drafts and scheduling updates, page history, archiving and deletion, and collaboration. So these topics are all around more using and working with pages and different things we can do to manage and maintain them. The past few sessions, we've talked about editing and creating content. This is more about what do we do after it exists, or when we want to make it go live. So we'll still touch on some of those, but mainly focus on these 7 concepts. And then we'll get hands-on in Cloud Premium. I think everything I do will be available in any version of Cloud, so if you're on the free version or standard, you can follow along. But I'll do my best to point out things, and I'm sure folks in the chat will keep me honest if I use something that is not in Premium. So our first question, do you use the page preview? And what about scheduling updates? The mitten state. George, thank you for clarifying what that is for folks who maybe didn't grow up with that one. It's also a baseball bat, if I recall. Now, I'll be honest, I don't really use either of these. Putting this together, I had to remind myself what the hotkeys were for page preview, and I've never scheduled a Confluence update. I schedule blog posts all the time. And I've used page preview every once in a while when I'm curious how a macro will render, things like that. No, infrequently, not really. No and no, not yet. That's fair, George. Again, when I've used page preview, and that's up under more actions in the top right, or Command-Shift-E, it'll show you what the changes look like if you publish. So it doesn't commit the change, it doesn't actually publish it. I mainly use this when I build the initial draft. So when I start a... when I start a new document and I have that first draft, I might preview it just to see what will it look like. But for the most part, the editor is WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. So it's pretty straightforward. It probably is a better practice for me to use the preview a bit more, to be honest. But this feature does exist. It doesn't publish the page. That's the big thing to remember. And that hotkey, Command-Shift-E, is also useful. We've got some chat about where people... So my family, part of my family's on Cape Cod, Massachusetts. It's the arm that sticks off of Cape Cod, and I tell people the family lives right here, kind of in the middle of the bicep. I'd be curious if folks outside of the States have tricks like that to remember where people live or how things look, because I know of at least 3 U.S. states that will use a hand or like a body part to describe where someone lives. I hadn't realized that there were more than 1 or 2. Kythra, morning. Drafts are something different, and I am incredibly guilty of not publishing a draft. But whenever we make a page, we end up with a draft. And so Confluence autosaves, and when you hit create, you'll end up with that draft in your content hierarchy, and you'll notice it has the word draft after the name of the page. Now that initial draft is only visible to you, and again, changes to it are autosaved. My problem, Chad, West Dennis, not a port though. I could also have said Braintree. Sorry, Rebecca, I just saw your comment on WYSIWYG. WYSIWYG is a lot of fun to say. Everyone, just for giggles, try saying WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. It's a fun acronym. It's one that doesn't come up as much as it used to. I think I remember earlier on in the internet, it was a much bigger feature, a newer thing. Drafts, though, just happen. And the thing I mess up with drafts a lot is I forget I have them. And so I'll look at my Confluence, and you'll probably see this. They'll just be a lot. Kristen. I grew up just south of Massachusetts in Connecticut, but we would go up to Cape Cod to see that family quite a bit. Again, middle of the bicep on the arm in West Dennis. Um, so you can only see drafts, and that's a good and bad thing. You can share the edit link to a draft, but it won't show up in the content hierarchy for anyone else. Why is Emily making fun of how I say WYSIWYG? WYSIWYG. W-I-S, WIS, E-I, WIG, W-I-G. No? WYSIWYG? um, Back to drafts. Now, you can find a list of all of your drafts up under the recent menu, so Confluence will keep track of them all for you. I use this. I need to be better about using that to go hunt down my drafts. And I say that just because it clutters things up. It's kind of like my office. There's stuff all over this desk. It's driving me nuts. I should make 5 minutes to just clear it off and clean it up. Now, scheduling updates. Again, I don't do this in Confluence. I personally haven't had a use case, but it lets you publish a page or changes to a page in the future. So, if you have a big team event coming up or a policy that goes live on a certain date, you can tell Confluence, hey, publish this, but not until some point in the future. It's found under publish. Oh, excuse me. Under the three dots. So it is a hidden menu. I didn't know it existed until I poked around to find it. Oh, this WYSIWYG. I guess I can hear it. I'm just trying to catch up here on the chat. Thomas, should they make the current draft stand out more in the UI? I don't know what to solve here, Thomas. It's probably bad habit for me. Like, I'll start the page and I'll wander off. Like, I'll just lose interest. Honestly, having the ability to use this recents, I just need to be focused on this more. Like, I need to use the existing things in the tool that will help me find it. I don't know really if Confluence would need to change. It's more something I need to adjust. Again, planning updates. Ooh, a question. What do you use page history for? And I will blow my nose very quickly. It's more frequently Emily to get another cup of coffee or like a sparkling water, my two crippling addictions. WYSIWYG. Now I gotta think. I forget how I first learned how to say Wissy or WYSIWYG. Um, Kyther is yelling at me. It is version control. The page changed. Yeah. Chad last. Who last updated it and messed up my stuff? Should track who changed what. Emily's calling out an Atlassian intelligence feature. This is in premium and higher. I actually really like this feature of AI. It will analyze the page history. So if you come back to a page and it's changed since you last saw it, it will just show you a text recap of what you missed. That for me is great because I don't have to wonder what changed. And this is great for policy pages or pages that I don't edit. But every version of Confluence has this page history or version history. I forget which one it's officially called, but I call them both. I'll use it interchangeably. But every time we save or publish a page, we save into the page history. And you can see on the left, there's now 4 versions of that particular page. And it's telling me when it was updated and who updated it. So this is great for things like audit purposes. This is not a full-scale like audit framework or system, but it does keep a running tally and tab of what has changed over time. So as Chad mentioned, if I go to my page and something's different, I can go see who made the change. Now on the right, what we're seeing is the version history for one version. So I can see what changed. Everything that's in red was deleted. everything that's in green was added, and the rest was always there. So you can compare kind of side by side two versions of a page to see the specific differences. Uh, version control and quote management changed their minds, so I have to roll it back. That's another good one. If your team realizes, hey, we shouldn't have made this change, you can pull it back to whatever it used to be. Reversion, Kythra, a great call out. You can say I made a whoopsie, and I'll show you this live, but you can roll the page back to whatever it used to be, like Emily was saying, what Kythra's calling out here. I have done that when I realized someone just really messed up a page. It was more effort to try and fix it, so I just said, you know what, we're going to reset it. Now, so page history helps us figure out what happened. We have a couple other features that help us manage our content. We have archival, and archiving is something that I usually allow most users to do. I've been in environments where it's been restricted to just say space admins or a smaller group, but it pulls that piece of content out of the hierarchy and it puts it in the archive. If we're thinking of our library analogy, I think of it as taking the book off the shelf and putting it in a box in the back room. It's not destroyed, it's not gone. It's just not in the main space where it's going to clutter up everyone's view of everything else. So archiving is an important part of our life cycle of content in Confluence, because eventually that page is no longer going to be as relevant, and you're going to realize folks aren't looking at it, and you want to get rid of it. Most of the time, we don't need to delete it. There's some historic value. We might have to look at it later. So we archive it. Now, it's controlled by a permission. So if you cannot see the archive option, it means your space admin hasn't given you that permission. So you'll need to go talk to your space admin about why you don't have it, and maybe can I have it. When you archive it, though, you can also add a note. And the note's important because when you look at that archive, you'll see this, and it's limited to 255 characters. I tend to archive things when a project is over, so I'll say, Project JQuil ended. And then someone looking through the archive goes, oh, that's why that's in here. You can restore things from an archive. So this is the neat thing about it. It puts it back in the hierarchy. So if we realize we made a whoopsie, or if maybe that piece of content actually is useful, we can pull it back in. Now, I believe everyone can view the archive or search through it, but only certain people can put things into it or take things out. You can't do a full compare combine. Emily is saying, like Microsoft Word. I use Google Documents a lot, and they have a suggested edits feature, which I like, where someone can type in edits and then you can approve or reject them. That doesn't exist currently in Confluence. We have like collaborative or live editing, but I can't have something that says, hi, I'd like to suggest this update, and then Kythra gets to approve it. So that was archiving, and again, that just puts it in a back room. The other option is deletion, and this is another permission controlled at the space level. So if you can't delete stuff, talk to your admin. Typically in environments I work in, I don't give a lot of people delete because this gets rid of things. This is like throwing it in your trash can. Now, space admins can pull things out of the trash. So Confluence Cloud has a few layers of protection. If I delete something, it isn't instantly gone. It just goes into the trash, and then the space admin can determine, do I purge it, and that's a permanent deletion, or do I restore it, or do I just leave it there? The big difference is you can't search for things in trash. I can go into Confluence Search and look through the archive, and I can view it. But I can't do that with trash. Trash means it's gone, we don't need it. And I believe if you're on data center, there's like a retention policy, so the org admin can say after 5 days, purge the trash auto-magically. Barbara, good question. Could you change where it's located in the hierarchy after it's restored? Kythra's right on it. Thank you. Once the page has been pulled out of the archive, just like Kythra's saying, it's just a page. You can move it wherever. And what we'll do when we go live is we'll archive something, and I'll show you exactly what that looks like. I'll also encourage you in your own instance, go archive something. When I did, this is also the only Atlassian exam I have right now, or certification. But when I sat down to take it, the archiving and deletion stuff confused me because I hadn't played with it enough. So it's really important that we go in and we try deleting stuff and we try moving stuff. Emily has an interesting point that won't fit in the chat window because my chat window is too small. I'm sorry. Trying to get people to use Confluence for their content. I might talk more about some of these process and ideas things in our next session just because there isn't much on the advanced features. But like any system, it's not less about the features of the system and more about the people using it and how do we interact with them and engage with them to make sure they understand here's how we're choosing to use it and here's how you can help me out. I I say almost exactly the same thing, Kaithra. You cannot break Confluence. Like if you do, I'll give you I'll mail you a gold star or something. It's a fairly stable system, but people are very like they're concerned. Oh, what if I do something wrong? When I have folks who have that thought process, I go give them their own personal space. I give them a space to play in, and I say, go do whatever you want in here. It's a safe spot. There's nothing important. You can't actually break anything. And that builds confidence because many people don't go to work to use Confluence. Some of us do. Like some of the tech writers in here probably use Confluence a lot and they live in it. I use it a lot because I'm the only one that usually cares on my team and I want to make it useful. But most people just see it as something I have to do. And if they don't know how to use it, they'll be like tentative, afraid, scared even. So it's important for us to help bridge that gap and help make them more comfortable. Sorry. Oh, Chad. So I think it was last week we were talking about child pages. I'd forgotten about that, my friend. And we mentioned there is no limit to the number of children, like layers down. Chad did an experiment, and apparently he counted to 110 before he stopped. Sorry. Chad, I assume you just got bored and stopped, and it wasn't like the system crashed or something. Rebecca, change management planning is important, 100%. I'm a huge proponent of change management. I won't dig into it too much here, but this is the process by which we let people know, here's how it used to be, here's what we're going to do, and here's how it'll be in the future. And that helps people become comfortable with the change. For the folks in this call, like, think of any time something has changed at work and you're surprised. You're like, what is that? Okay, you just got bored. Okay, Chad, you've inspired me. Yes, please share it in our Discord if you have a screenshot. That's the wrong link. Why did I give you the wrong link? Sorry, folks. That link will go to the homepage I've set up for the ACA-920. And that has resources and things like flashcards to help us study. This link is our Discord where there's been a group, about 40 folks just chatting and catching up in between sessions. So please feel free to join. It's a great spot. There's a lot of fun, useful folks in there. And Chad, I will make time to record myself trying to do 110 and we'll just see what happens. I'll see if I can beat your record. So copying and moving is the next feature. So archiving and deletion removes things from the page tree. Copying will shockingly make a copy, and moving things will move it around the page tree. Now, both of these allow us to change where the page is. So if I copy something, I can say, where does the copy go? I'll be honest, I haven't played Dungeons & Dragons in a long time. That said, I've got kids, and I train martial arts, and some of those kids like Dungeons & Dragons, and it makes me happy that kids still play that. Now, copying makes a copy of the page, and you can optionally copy the children, and then put that new page somewhere else. Moving takes the existing page and just puts it somewhere else. Moving can also make something a parent or a child. So I might take a page that was under company policies and put it under design. Excuse me. And I can also transfer them between spaces. I do this infrequently. I know a lot of people use copy as a way to templatize a page instead of using a template. I discourage that because that clutters up your space tree. The advantage, though, is copying grabs the children. You can't template children. That sounds really, no one take that out of context. That sounds really weird. You can't copy, you can't have children pages on a template. You'll have to make them separately. So one workaround is to have a templated structure and then copy the structure. So that's a trick to get around that. Ooh, look at this. Kyther is dropping a FLA, a five-letter acronym. Oh, Ansia, no worries. You've missed a very interesting discussion. Chad was able to make 110 levels of child page before he got bored and stopped. We're talking about moving pages at this point, and now we're just digging into collaboration. And as Emily said, we're talking about templatizing children. While we're here, a tabletop role-playing game, TTRPG. I haven't seen that written down, but I instantly knew what it was. That makes me happy. Actually, let me put that back up there. I like that collaborative improvisational problem solving. SIPS, CIPS. And another S for storytelling. Okay. So if we... it's interesting. Confluence and Atlassian recently have started to not use the word knowledge base as much. They've started using the word collaboration instead. And for me, this makes sense. Confluence is intended as a virtual place for us all to work together. Emily from the top rope, thank you. Good question from Antonio. I can't easily show this in the demo, so I'm glad you brought it up. But if a page isn't published, if it's at initial draft, and here's Emily's answer, they won't get that notification about a comment until you publish. And that's because the page doesn't exist. I'll put that in air quotes. It's not real. Again, this is what I appreciate about this group. You know, we're all always learning. We can all always help each other. So please jump in when you have questions and when you have answers. Collaboration, again, is that the cornerstone of Confluence. You can use Confluence by yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. Typically, though, I use it at larger organizations, 30,000 people. And it helps us build things across the world, across teams, and make sure we can all share this information. We'll mainly talk about commenting, collaborative editing, and sharing. Commenting is controlled at the space level via permissions. So if you can't comment, it's likely flipped off at the space level for you. I don't usually work in environments that they restrict commenting. The disadvantage is I've seen comments that are like 2 years old that no one has answered. So if there are comments, please respond to them. It's kind of like my problem with drafts. We want to make sure we're actively using them and engaging and not just letting them sit. Kyther, that's a good call out. I mentioned that Atlassian is moving away from calling it a knowledge base. That doesn't mean it's not a knowledge base. That just means they want people to see it as something more. I think another reason for this is because the term knowledge base feels very 1990s. It's like a mainframe computer. Like it's this big thing that is now 30 years old. Why would I use that instead of something else? So I think part of it's a marketing branding thing, but I also think part of it is like changing people's mindsets about what the tool can do. But you're absolutely right, Kyther. It is an effective knowledge base. You'll just see the term like collaboration platform more coming from Atlassian these days. I use it solo as well to try and keep track of all of these videos I do. It's very poor. I would love any tips and tricks for solo. And let us know when your TED Talk goes. Back to the comments. On a draft, they'll be notified when it's saved. Their comments notify when the comment is saved or submitted. Thank you, Emily. Now, you can comment on an entire page way down at the bottom or on specific words or phrases. So they call that inline comments. If you have permissions to do any comment, you can do both. So I can't restrict your ability to do inline comment versus page comments. Typically, I like to use inline comments because I can put the comment exactly where I need. Hey, Rob, what did you mean by this exact phrase? Hey, Emily, I think this is out of date. But again, regardless, if you use comments, make sure that you are monitoring them and that you respond to them. I think Emily meant this comment as a bit of a joke. I agree. Atlassian does change terminology, and this is good and bad. Um, the system will constantly evolve, and Atlassian, as an outsider, I've seen that they put their money where their mouth is, and they do honestly try and make their systems better as best they can. And this means things will change. They'll adjust the terms. They'll make the UIs different, which I'll talk about briefly. So be on the lookout for those updates. And if you think something is different, or you're like, wait a minute, where did the button go? Ask someone. Like, please use this community. Please use the Discord. Please use Atlassian community, this person in your office. But it is evolving and growing and building. So definitely raise a hand and say, hey, I don't get this. Sharing is another way to collaborate. I honestly don't use this feature. I just copy and paste the hyperlink to the page. The difference is if I share, I can do it by a group. So I haven't done this just because I didn't learn how to do this at the start. But if you share something, it notifies that individual or group and lets them know, hey, Rob shared this thing with you, and here's a little note explaining why. Now, there is a big share button in the top right. It does respect permissions. So if I don't have access to view a page and Kythra is just right there in the chat and they share something with me, I won't be able to see it via the link. It just doesn't exist. So this is it's an easy way to do it. But again, I tend to just copy the hyperlink to the page and give that to someone. My cloning experiment was successful. There are 2 Robs. And this is because I was doing collaborative editing. So when we're editing a page, if you share the link with someone, they can pop in and edit it with you. There's a limit of up to 10 editors, I believe. So 10 people at once can be on one page. It will show you where they are on the page, like their cursor, but it doesn't do things like suggested edits. It's just going to show me where the other Rob is so I can go hunt them down and then what they're typing in real time. I've used this a little bit, and it just so happens in the environments I'm in, folks don't use this feature. That doesn't mean it's not a good feature. It just means the people I work with tend not to use it. Emily's saying that they clone themselves a lot. I will accidentally open the same tab multiple times. And so I'll see my own little headshot up there like 3 or 4 times, and that lets me know, hey, Rob, you've got the same window open in multiple spots. Okay. What other questions do folks have? We're going to jump into Confluence for just a live walkthrough of a lot of this stuff. But please drop your questions in there. Some of us are great at just keeping the chat going. I really appreciate that. But for other folks, please jump in as well. I'll do my best to catch them, and I will have a blog follow-up, and I'll talk about other resources near the end. But I'll catch questions later if I miss them right now. But please get them in there so I can help you. Here we are in Confluence Cloud Premium, and I'm just going to go to a space. I've got my friend Project Jake Will. And we're going to start just by archiving something. And I'm starting with archiving because that was just top of mind. But here I have a page meeting notes. It's got some children. And I can click on this 3 dots. Let me scroll down a bit. There we go. And I've got archive and delete at the bottom. Again, if these are missing, if I don't see them, it means my space admin has taken that permission away. I'd have to go talk to my space admin for help. But if I click archive, if I click archive again, and here's another terminology thing. They're now called, they're calling them nested items instead of children. That's going to break my brain for a while. But you'll see it says I can include these in the archival process or not. And it's also saying I have permission to archive them. So it's just letting me know, hey, if you do this, you're going to get rid of 2 other pages. I'll give it some reason. And now it's gone. If I close this, that page is no longer in the hierarchy, and that's cleaned it up entirely. Antonio, how do I set a page status? I will show you that in just a minute, but Ansa beat me to it. If page statuses are turned on in your space, it's an optional setting. You'll see an option to do this. In just a minute, Antonio, I'll show you how that can be turned on or off. Now I can go find my archive if I go under space settings. And I'm lazy, so I just use the search up here for archive. And you'll notice I can archive the space. I don't want to do that. Most folks won't have this permission, but I can see archived content. And so this is that archive. These are all the pages that have been archived in the space, including the one that I just archived. Now, one thing to notice, the note only was on the parent. So I don't know if this would pop up in our exam, but the note is applied to the parent, but the children are still in here. Now, if I have the ability to archive, I can also unarchive. So I could restore this, or I could like change the note, or I could delete it from here. So this is something any user can access. You can also get to it when you search and then go to advanced search. Under more filters, you can search for archived content. So this is something I didn't know. I didn't know where the search was when I started using Confluence, which is a little bit embarrassing because it's right there at the top of every page. But you can search through the archive. So this is something I tell my team, hey, this is how you find older stuff. Now, if I want to restore this, this will just put it back wherever it was. And it's asking, do I want to put the whole branch back? I'll say yes. And then someone had asked, can I control where it goes? Yes. So maybe I'll put it under jQuil shorts. And then it's going to open it right up in the hierarchy. So that was a page at the top level. If I go and archive this again, there was a hiccup. Now, this is an important call out. If we restore something under a new page that has restrictions, those restrictions will apply. So this is something to consider if you're taking the exam. Where the page is restored to will impact its visibility and its edit potentially. So just be careful. Confluence will warn you. But this is something we need to know. Kythra, I like this change in terminology. It's kind of like it's now primary, secondary instead of, excuse the terminology, master and slave in terms of like disk spaces or disk relationships. I think it's a good evolution that better describes what it is in a more neutral way. Antonio, this is about the status. I'll show you in a minute. I know. Sorry, I'm just answering your question. You didn't ask to see it, Emily, so I'm not going to show you yet. I'll dig into page statuses in just a minute. I want to get through archival and deletion just because this really tripped me up. Okay, so I'm going to go back and now I'm going to archive this page again. And it's warning me, hey, you're archiving this and they were restricted. Restrictions are removed when something gets archived. So if this page is sensitive and I archive it, its view restriction is gone. So please be very careful when you do this. It's possible you will accidentally, release something that shouldn't have been released. I'll just refresh. Meeting notes is here. And if I go to restore this, you'll notice it remembered the parent. So this is the call out here. It's the archiving process remembers the parent page if it had one. And it's very clearly saying the most recent parent. I can, however, put it wherever I want. So I can restore it straight back to where it was automatically, or I can choose to put it somewhere else. And of course, once it's in the page tree, I can just click and drag it around. All right, Barb, what happens if we do what Chad did and we have 110 layers of nesting? What's junior to 110th? 100%, Kythra. Yes. My problem with those terminology updates, it's like the whole issue work item thing in Jira. I've had a habit of 10 years of saying one term. It's going to take me a while to unlearn, and I just need to be gentle with myself while I unlearn. Deletion is different. I'm going to take this Jira integration page, and I'm just going to go delete it. Now, this is a little bit different. It's going to ask me, hey, first off, you're changing access, but also you might want to archive this. And it's reminding me, hey, my space admin can purge and restore. So I'll click delete. I think I'm in some kind of very weird loop. And that page is gone. Now, as a space admin, so I can't do this unless I'm an admin, I have, where did it go? Trash. So for the exam, we just need to know that the trash exists and that space admins can manage it. Purging all will get rid of things permanently. There is no way to recover this. Like, this is like taking your trash outside and lighting it on fire. It's gone. The nice people at Atlassian probably can't even help you. So please be very careful with the word purge. Purging is permanent. I can restore that meeting notes. The difference is, you'll notice it didn't ask me where do I want to put it. It automatically just stuffs it at the bottom of the hierarchy, so it's not going to respect the original parent. Okay, what do I call the thing that it was nested under? I get nesting, but what is that relationship? It won't put it back to under the page it used to be. It just stuffs it at the bottom. So that's the big difference. Archival will put it back where it was, or optionally will. Deletion just stuffs it at the bottom. That tripped me up when I took the exam, so something to think through. Just trying to catch up. So I guess the number of O's, Barbara, indicates the depth. Nest and nesty. All right, team. We have to do some homework and figure out what these relationships are called. Was it bleep? I did a short video about the whole work item issue thing. Here we go. If you have a minute later, there's a little short on changing terminology and feeling like it's a dirty word. Sorry, Junior, I'm going to get you off the screen. There we go. So that's archival and deletion. We had another question on content status. A space admin can manage these. They live under general. So Emily, I think you were talking about it, and Antonio. They can be turned off. So if that is turned off, you will not see it, Antonio. You can then delete statuses or create them or let people make their own. So that's where they live in terms of administration. That's not for most users. Thomas, I don't know if I'll ever stop saying issues. And again, that's my habit, and it's on me to like learn how to do that. Gythra. Wow. I might have to steal that joke, my friend. Sorry. Okay, which answer are we looking at? Work item thing. Sorry, Ansa, I missed the question. If you could help me remember, that would help. Okay, now when I create... Oh, here we go. So I mentioned I'm bad at publishing pages. These are drafts, and these are only visible in the content hierarchy to me because they're unpublished. Now, if a piece of content is published and there's a change to it, folks could see those with the edit link. But if I come in here, this is an unpublished page. If Antonio came in, he would not see this in the content hierarchy. I could, if I wanted, and if he had access to my instance, give him this link, which is called the edit link, and you can see the word edits right there in it. That would then allow him to edit the page with me live. But until I publish this, it's invisible. Now, when I choose to publish it, under more actions, more options, this is where I can say, when do I want to publish it? You'll also notice I can add a version comment. Oops, I don't want to do that. Let me reset that. There we go. It's a good idea to put comments on versions just so folks know what they're for. You know, for the initial version, maybe we don't, but as we go, especially for more important documents, I'll add it. Emily's got a good point. This is not something we need to know how to do for the exam. We just need to know that org admins, the people who administer all of Confluence, can come in and see those unpublished drafts. So ideally, my org admin is coming through once every 3 months and just deleting every unpublished draft just to clean things up, or maybe every unpublished draft that's more than 3 weeks old. just to clean things up. I don't know many groups that do that. It's a bit of a maintenance-y thing that most people choose not to do, but a good idea. So this is where I can publish the page. And now you'll notice that that draft lozenge box thing status is gone. So this is signaling to me, hey, it's visible to everyone. I need to go find a page. I think this one actually has stuff. Sorry, folks, just moving through the content. Let me know if you want me to back up or dig in. Up under more actions in the top, I need to find version history. Here we go. I will call it things like page history or version history. It's technically called version history, and I'm trying to remember that. But these are all the different variations of this page. It's been published 5 times, and we're now on version 5. But I could click and see, what did version 2 look like? And Confluence remembers it. This is version 2 of the page. It's a bit noisy, but I might say, you know what, I'm going to go back to version 1. What was the original page? And maybe I can't tell the difference, so I can even compare them. So I can compare the original page with the current page. This can be confusing to read, but it's color-coded, which helps. The blue stuff was a formatting change. So between the first and fifth one, that formatting changed. This stuff was added. The gray stuff was just there. So this is how we can go through and compare versions. Now, you can delete versions out of the version history. So I could delete version 3. And you'll notice that the versioning updated. For me, this is a little bit dangerous, and this is why this is not necessarily the best control tool. So if you're in a regulated environment that has some kind of important thing you have to do, you might need an add-on or something else. But this is where I can go and restore and delete them. Antonio, can I see who has visited a page? If you have, I think it's premium and up, you get analytics. So if I go up to my page and I click on analytics, this will show me here down at the bottom who the specific person was. Engagement, that's new. Engaged users spend more than 20 seconds. Interesting. The version they viewed, when they viewed it, and the number of views. Again, you may not have this if you're on standard. George, I like that question. Atlassian, I'll talk more about taking the exam next time because there's not a lot of extra content. But Atlassian doesn't do gotcha questions. So when you take the exam, they're not going to try and mess with you or trick you or anything. They're just going to have a straight up question that's useful to know. For the associate level, the ACA stuff, they probably won't split too many hairs. They want people to be successful using their tool. They want people to understand things. The biggest thing that confused me was like how an archive page is restored. And that's why I dug into that more. It goes back where it was. Permissions are retained. Deleted doesn't do that. And then the little bits about restricting. How do those inherit down? So we won't get too deep into that. And it doesn't cover too much around like permissions other than go to your space admin if you can't do something is probably the answer. If you took a professional level, the ACP for these, then it's going to split hairs. I like this philosophy too. The exam is intended to, validate what we know, but also help support us. They want us to be successful. They don't want us coming out of it going, oh, I feel cheated. Like I knew the answer, but it was worded in a way that was wrong. Like they're not going to do that to us, thankfully. All right, folks, what other questions do y'all have? I have a few more slides I'll talk to. Hroner, I took one Microsoft exam and I failed it horribly and I gave up. But what other questions do y'all have, team? While I talk about what I'm doing next week. So please drop questions in the comments. Any question is fair game. If I can't answer it now, I'll get to it. But I will be at Team 25. That's Atlassian's conference next week. And I'll be at booth 78 quite a bit with my friends at Aura. They're the folks I do the Thursday trainings with. But we'll have a live Confluence challenge. So if you're in team, come by the booth at these times. 7:30 on the 8th, 11 and 3 on the 9th, and 11 on the 10th. And we're going to do a live quiz show about Confluence where you get to see if you can beat me. They're building me up as some kind of like Confluence super expert. I'm really nervous. I'm just going to get completely annihilated by the competition. If you are at team, please look me up. I'll put my email in the chat. Please shoot me an email. They did, Emily. They're going by Aura now. It's a bit easier to say. But please pop me an email. Look me up on LinkedIn and shoot me a message. I'd love to meet you at team. Or if you're ever in the Bay Area, or if I'm somewhere near where you are and you think I'm around, shoot me a message. I really like going to conferences like Team because I get to meet people. A lot of the time I spend talking to a camera. I might get to see folks, I might not. So if you're at Team, please look me up. Aura? Depends on how you pronounce it. But look me up at that booth. Shoot me a message. Would love to, again, meet you. I'll also be doing some content from Team. If you can't make it, I know you mean that it's a joke, but it would be great to have you both show up and embarrass me just so I could meet you. If you can't make it and there's something you want to know, something you want me to sit in on, let me know and I'll see if I can build it into my schedule. I'm happy to go and talk to folks or ask questions on your behalf, go sit in on a learning, get some information for you. I will be trying to make content while I'm there, but I'm focusing more on the in-person stuff. So I'll do my best to kind of like report from the field, and if there's specific content you want, let me know. Runner, I don't yet. They typically announce it, if I'm trying to recall, after the one in the US, and it's typically in like October. I'm just thinking back in past years. I am selfishly hoping I get to go to this one too, just so I get to go to Europe again. It's been a while, but I'd love to see that one. That makes it sound like it's a like Ra, like the Egyptian sun god. Like, oh, should we choose this one or Ra? Sorry, that's the first bad joke that popped into my head, Rebecca. Next steps, though. Check out our webpage. It's not really new at this point. I'll just drop a link in the comments. I need to update it a bit. My goal with it is to make it a one-stop shop for everything you would all need to pass this exam. In the middle, it's got links to Confluence, Atlassian's documentation, this YouTube playlist, and then our Discord server. So again, I'll drop the Discord link. Please jump in there. We've got a great group chatting about Confluence and Jira and other stuff. And then at the bottom, there's flashcards. I put these on here because I find them useful. I would write paper flashcards when I studied for exams, and those were really hard to share. So please come in here and try and break my webpage and just tinker with these. I need to add some more, but I'm breaking it up by category just to help you out. But please study on your own. If you want to take that exam, an hour a week might be enough, but you really need to review these things, especially how restrictions work and how archiving and deletion differ. I remember those being on the exam and messing with my head a bit just because I didn't understand them. Our last session for the ACA-920 is this Friday, and I'm doing it on Friday to make sure we get through all of this before Team, just so I can start fresh. After Team, I'll be doing the ACA-900 on Fridays, and that one's for Jira software. So I hope to see some of y'all there. Again, you don't have to take the exam to find these things useful. It'll still give you a great foundational knowledge. But again, pop me an email, check out the site, and come on Friday, and let me see what questions I might have missed. I think the Marines is an OORA, like an OOOOHRA, I think. Woof. Sorry, George. 103 times. My friend, that's too many. What George is referring to is many of these exams require you to go to a facility, a special place where there's a proctor, a person who will make sure you're not cheating and monitor things. But they give you this little booth. It's like a tiny cubicle or a phone booth, and you might get a whiteboard and a pen, and that's it. And you sit at a computer and you take the exam. And it's, again, to make sure you're focused and you're not cheating and that you're being honest. But I cannot imagine going in there 103 times, my friend. I've taken maybe a dozen times total in my life. Once I failed, I earned most of the rest. I'll talk about different ways to um, to sit the exam, I tend to take them at home. But I'll talk about that all on Friday, just so you all know what that means if you want to do it. Um, Antonio, I haven't taken any of the ACPs yet. I'm going to take the ACP 420 hopefully in a few weeks. I'm terrified. Um, and I appreciate you sharing that you failed your first attempt. That's important for people to know. Like, these exams do test our knowledge. We do need to prepare for them, and they can surprise us. And for me, that's always a painful feeling. Like when I see that you failed to pass. But it's also, a good reminder and good feedback on where we can improve. And for me, like, studying for the exam gives me knowledge. Even if I don't earn the exam or choose not to take it, I still learn how archiving works, how these different things operate, which is very helpful. We spoke a little bit about analytics. Page statuses. Antonio, I've got a video for you somewhere while I'm thinking about it. Am I in the right spot? I am. That video is on page status or content statuses. Frank, I wouldn't say you're late. I would just say you've missed like 95% of the thing. Sorry your power is out. Glad it's back. Of course, this is recorded, my friend. George, I will talk a bit about this as we go. Kythra, yep, you need a laptop or desktop, and things have to be non-cluttered. I tend to do it in here, and again, I will talk about this on Friday. I'll let Kythra explain, and then I'll share my experience with isolation trying to do this. Hey, Thomas, appreciate you sharing that. Failing one twice, then you passed, and then you nailed two others. That's awesome. Oh, no. I'm sorry, Kythra. Um, when I took the project management professional, the PMP, I was in a condo with my wife, and I told her, you're not allowed to have anyone else in the room with you. This might be what Kythra meant in terms of isolated, but there can't be anyone in the room with you, and they can't see anyone on camera. So again, no cheating, right? I told my wife, hey, I'm going to go take this exam. It's 3 hours. You can't come into the room, or I'll fail instantly, kind of thing. Okay, so I go in, I cleaned everything up. I went to log in, and it sounds like, who mentioned that? Oh, Kythra, you mentioned no way to contact support. I couldn't log into the test system. So in this system, you download something on your computer to make sure you're not cheating. And I hit start, and the timer started ticking, and it was just a black screen. And so I spent 10 minutes trying to contact in chat, 15 minutes, half an hour in chat, nothing. Finally, I pull out my cell phone, which you're not allowed to have, and I pulled it up to the screen, and I said, I typed in chat, I'm calling your tech support. I don't see anything. I came out of that room 5 hours later. Eventually it worked, but it took 5 hours to fix the problem and then to sit the exam, and thankfully I passed. My wife was horrified. She's like, I didn't know what to do. You said don't come in. It was like 11 at night. So it was not the best experience because I was stuck in that chair and I couldn't get help. For some reason, it didn't work. So finally, I just called someone. So that was my bad experience of doing this. No clutter. You can't have stuff on the desk. They'll have you move the camera around to make sure there's nothing. Again, they want to make sure that you're being honest. But in some cases, it can have a lot of other challenges. Now, there are many people who choose to go to a test center, which is the thing to do. Thomas, if you even have just a wallet on your desk, the proctor will pause your test until you move it. Yep. I'll dig a lot more into this on Friday because I think we're giving Emily like a panic attack here. Sorry, Emily. They will allow, it's like a clear bottle of water. That's it. So like my big black water bottle, not okay. There's markings on it that could be cheating. Test the browser. And this is why many people choose to go to the test centers. So these will be buildings you go into where everything is controlled and there's a proctor. Um, so, folks, on that note, having given Emily a panic attack, please don't panic. Please drop into that Discord with your tips on passing these exams. Just drop them in the general channel, just so other folks can learn from it. And I will have more tips and tricks on how that'll work next week. So I'll talk through how do we sign up for the exam, and then how do we be successful. But otherwise, I hope to see you all next. When was it? Wow, this Friday. I'm losing track of time. But please drop your questions. I'll have a follow-up on this, a blog post and all that. Thank you all for coming and listening for another hour, and have a great Tuesday. And I look forward to seeing you all on Friday. And I need to find my beautiful opening video. All right, there we go. All right, folks. On that, I'll leave the chat open for a bit. Please drop those last-minute questions or anything else you need, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon.